A recent Wall Street Journal story asks the question, the company that laid you off wants you back. What do you say? That's actually a great question. Here's the answer.
Absolutely fucking not.
Yeah, that's the answer. So I guess we'll kind of shut this down and call it a day. Actually, wait. Hold on. It kind of depends. Come back. Let's talk about it. Hey folks, Mark here with The Rational Workforce. Thanks so much for stopping by. Now, despite my glib opening and the sound advice from our friend Leonardo, the answer to the question, should I go back to the company that just laid me off, isn't always so cut and dry. But with a few noteworthy exceptions, the answer, in my opinion, should almost always be no. Let me explain. If your financial or familial lot in life necessitates having a gig and a steady flowing paycheck, and you don't have enough saved up to withstand an extended period of unemployment, especially in this environment, then take the gig. Never let your pride override your responsibility to the people you love and the people who rely on you. But if you're flying solo or if you have enough money in the bank to float you for a while, that's a different story, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But there's zero shame in going back, even after a layoff, to make sure you're taking care of your family. But, and this is a big but, if you do go back, keep a couple of things in mind. Number one, they've already proven that they think you're expendable. Don't give them more power than they deserve. Don't view it as a second chance to prove how indispensable you are. Don't think that burning yourself out will make you immune to it from happening again. Do good work, maintain your character and your dignity, take your check, and when you're off the clock, be 100% off the clock. Number two, get that resume updated and keep looking for a better opportunity. The days of working your ass off for a company, steadily rising through the ranks, and retiring with the gold watch and a pension at the end of the road, those days are largely gone. I'm a Gen Xer, and I've heard story after story after story of people my age who have said things like, I gave that company 20 years of my life only to get laid off. And then they spend the next 6 to 12 months carpet bombing the job market looking for a new gig. You are the only person responsible for your career, so always bet on yourself. That doesn't mean you should job hop or punch out of a gig at the first sign of choppy waters. But in this instance, the company's already shown to you what they're prepared to do to make their lot in life better. So you got to make sure that you're looking out for yourself. And number three, check the attitude. If you're going to go back, don't do it with a chip on your shoulder. The way you carry yourself at work matters. Your attitude and your work ethic are the calling cards of your personal brand. So you don't have to be a doormat for your employer or turn into a yes man to survive, but you can't go around being a jerk either. Also, I guarantee that as long as you stay in the same general field, you're going to encounter the same people time and time again. Don't torpedo your own reputation out of some misguided notion that going in with a lousy attitude means you're somehow sticking it to the man. Be smart about how you go about things, and you should be okay. Now, if you're still up in the air as to what you should do, the journal does give some really solid, really practical advice from career advisor Deborah Wheatman. Now, in the article, she states that you should make a sober assessment of your finances and your job prospects and let that be your guide. And like I just talked about, that's absolutely spot-on gospel truth advice. But if you have some flexibility, you do have some pretty great options. Of course, there's going to be going the traditional route. You could look for another gig and you could land somewhere that's more personally rewarding. And I, personally, have had a hard time sticking around with employers once they showed their true colors. And I suspect I'm probably not alone. I've worked for companies where I've seen other employees get mistreated or fired, not necessarily because they weren't doing their job, but because someone's spreadsheet spit out a cost-cutting recommendation that resulted in every department needs to cut headcount by 20% edict. It sucks. It's often unfair, but it happens way too often. It's not uncommon. Now, in such circumstances, I've always taken that as a sign that it was time for me to start looking for another gig, even if I was quote-unquote safe from the round of layoffs. Now, maybe that's not always the best route forward, but I've seen some really good people get let go at really vulnerable times in their life. And their managers knew it, HR knew it, and they got fired anyway. And look, I know all the arguments, right? We're running a business, not a charity, and all that other stuff. But to me, that type of behavior is a sign of an organization that sees everyone as a cost center more than they see people as actual contributors to moving the business forward. And that's just not an organization that I want to be part of. Now, if a company needs to make some cuts so they can keep the lights on and keep others on payroll, that's a totally different story, right? Like every business hits economic headwinds from time to time. But when firing people is used as a measure to cover up for poor management, poor leadership, bad decisions, or it's done simply to make an extra buck or two for the C-suite, well, I mean, that makes a statement in and of itself, doesn't it? Now, if your company is making cuts for legitimate financial reasons, just be sure you pay attention to how they're treating people on the way out. Are they being kind? Are they doing it discreetly? Are managers pulling the rest of the team together to give some context to what happened and seem sincere when they're expressing concern? Like, if that's the case, those are all good signs. And again, sometimes cuts need to be made, and a little humanity goes an awful long way. Or the other side of that coin, did they make a show of it? Did they call the person or people who were being let go? Did they bring them to another office and then at the same time send security to kind of hastily pack up all the personal belongings while coworkers watched, and then met that newly terminated employee at the front door to just send them on their way? I mean, if someone is fired for cause, all of those behaviors are on the table, right? Anything could have happened to trigger that termination, so, take those instances with a grain of salt. But if your employer treats someone like a criminal simply because they ended up in the wrong column on an Excel spreadsheet, well, that tells you a little something about how much they value the dignity of work, and you should react accordingly. Now, another option that you have to you, and this is one that they talk about a bit in the article as well, is hanging out your shingle as a consultant. This is the path that I chose, and although it's not for everyone, it can be really, really gratifying. Now, if you're really interested in the gory details of my own path to entrepreneurship, I'll do a separate video on that someday. Just leave a note in the comment section if you'd like to see it. But in a nutshell, I had a couple of really great runs as chief marketing officer at some really great technology companies. And then it was followed by 2 in a row where the experience wasn't so great and I was laid off. Now, in both instances, I kind of saw it coming, but even so, it doesn't really take away the sting once it happens. So you're going to have to carry that with you and process it. But if you use it the right way, it's going to shape your perceptions and it's going to fine-tune your judgment. And, honestly, I don't really have sour grapes for either organization that laid me off. Both treated me fairly well on my way out the door. But after experiencing it a couple of times in a row, I decided that the best and safest bet was just for me to bet on myself. So I used that severance money and I used the downtime to get my ducks in a row. I started building a pipeline and started shoring up my network. And within a few months after getting laid off, I started Kickmotor. And Kickmotor is a virtual agency. We really focus on B2B companies, mostly in the technology space. And there I help growth stage companies through everything from full service fractional chief marketing officer support, through brand building and messaging strategies, through coaching and content creation. You name it, either myself or somebody on my team can make it happen for you. And, going this route isn't really for the faint of heart, but it can be really, really rewarding. Now, if you think that this is a path that sounds appealing, I'm more than happy to share the ups and downs and the expenses that come along with doing something like that. But going out on your own does offer a degree of freedom and flexibility that's kind of tough to beat if you're cut out for it. Now, the biggest perk for me in this area is that I get to work with several great organizations at once. I get to make sure I'm working with clients whose ethics and ethos align with my own. And for someone like me with ADD, the variety of work that comes my way during the course of the week means that my neurospiciness is actually an asset. And, again, it's not for everyone, but it can be an amazing way to make a living. Like, I'm coming up on year 6 with the business, and I ain't looking back. But no matter what path you choose, the most important thing to remember is to not let this keep you down. You can't let this define you. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to allow your ego to take that temporary hit, but you can't let it deliver a knockout blow. If you come away from this video with anything, let it be this. Your personal worth is not dictated by the whims of your employer. That's why it is so important to have things going on outside of the 4 walls of the office, whether your office is within the shining towers of a tech company or 60 feet up on a utility pole. You've got to find things that will help you learn new skills or keep pace with areas of interest. And it's just a great way to keep you occupied and, more importantly, give you some options when you're looking for that next gig. So now it's your turn. Have you ever been laid off? Have you ever been the person who needs to deliver that message and laid other people off? I've been on both sides of that fence myself. How did you handle things? How did your company handle things? I really want to know about this sort of stuff. So take a few minutes and drop us a note in the comments section. Or if you want some insights from someone who walked a mile in those shoes, drop me a line. I'm always happy to help you out. And with that, we're going to close out today's episode. So if you'd like to see more content like this, give us a thumbs up, ring the bell, click subscribe, do all the things that'll help us keep the channel growing. I'd really appreciate it. And until next time, I hope you have a good one. Thanks for stopping by.